Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us on this very special NADA edition of Industry Insider. My name is Matt Jones, and I am joined by Carrie Wise.
Hey, Matt, I'm back.
Yes, thank you so much
This has
for
been
agreeing to
so
help
much.
me through this NAD week.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. Last year at NADA, we did probably 18 shows at the booth, and this isn't quite the same as being in person, but I don't know, it's close. It gives us a little feel like we're at NADA. I miss New Orleans though. That's my
Yes,
biggest regret.
yes, I feel the same way. And you know what? That camaraderie of being in the conference and just getting to see your old friends from different parts of the company, because TrueCar is nationwide. We don't always get to see our colleagues. That is really missed. But we're making the best of it in this virtual environment. And we can also say that we've got to talk to some pretty cool people in NADA week, even though we are virtual, right?
Yeah, Steve Ressler, we had Glenn Pash, and now we have Lizette Goal. I mean, we are definitely talking to the right people, speakers at NADA, and obviously they all have huge followings in the industry. So it's as good as it can get
Yes,
in
I
terms
think
of a
that
virtual environment.
that's a perfect spin. And folks who are on the call, feel free, as always, if you have some questions, just drop them in. But before we get too far in, I really want to tell you about this special edition of Industry Insider, and it's brought to you by TrueCar Military. Now, TrueCar Military is our fastest growing channel, and it enables dealers to interact with an enormous audience. We're talking about 47 million people in this population, which includes active duty military members, veterans, and their families. So if you'd like to learn more about TrueCar Military, very easy, truecar.com/military. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about TrueCar, well, here's a little introduction to us.
Very exciting. It felt like we were at the booth in New Orleans on the floor of NADA, right? This is as close as you can get, but we are really excited not only to talk to you about what we're doing at TrueCar, but to talk to you at NADA. And so, as you know, we're in a virtual environment. We're having these virtual meetings with dealers, and we wanted to do something to give back to the community that we're so proud of, the military community. We are rolling out at NADA what we call the 21K challenge. And in this challenge, we'll be donating $100 per dealer meeting we have at NADA, up to $11,000 in total. So if you meet with us, $100, and that's going to go to a very important organization, the Disabled American Veterans. And then we're going to throw another $10,000 into that pot and split it across 4 dealers that we will choose. Each dealer will get $2,500 to donate to their charity of choice. So we got the 11,000 plus the 10,000, which gets us to the 21,000K challenge. So we're really excited about that. And we're going to be announcing the winner of this challenge on a special Industry Insider show tomorrow, a military edition, which will feature our spokesperson for our Driven to Drive program, which puts disabled veterans into vehicles, Corey Remsburg. And we'll also have a representative from Disabled American Veterans Organization, David Riley. And then, of course, we'll have and announce the winners, the 4 dealer winners of our challenge. So it's going to be a really exciting show. We would love for you to join us tomorrow.
Yes, guys, and today is the last day at NADA, so if you'd like to book your appointment and make sure that we send an additional $100 on your behalf to DAV, simple as could be, truecar.com/NADA 2021. Setting it up only takes a second. The appointments are rather short, and help us send an extra $100 to a DAV. Now, let's jump into the show, can we?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, today's conversation is based on the topic that's all of our minds. Everybody in automotive is talking about digital retailing, and our topic is driving digital transformation through online retailing. Today, we're going to talk about consumers. I mean, I think it's safe to say that we all know that consumers today behave differently than they did years ago or even last year. because a lot of purchases that consumers make have some sort of digital component in there. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about shoppers. Do they want to shop online? Do they want to shop in person? But probably just as important, if not most important, is we are going to uncover opportunities that exist in this new environment.
So we're thrilled to introduce a guest that knows a lot about this topic. In fact, she spoke at NADA on this very topic, and we're thrilled to introduce Lissette Gole. And to give you a little background on her, she is the head of automotive retail at Google. She's based in Michigan, and she is a mother of 2 sons and a wife. She's passionate about the dealers and our industry. And she's really focused on how does she help dealers increase sales, profitability, loyalty through the power of digital tools and technology. She's worked in the business and other industries for the past 20 years, working across multiple OEMs. Prior to automotive, she spent several years in the marine business, including leading F&I at personal watercraft dealerships. And she's also passionate about health and wellness and has founded a community to help women live their best lives. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lizette Goal of Google. Hi, Lizette.
Hi, Carrie. Hi, Matt. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
We are so excited to have you. Thank you.
Absolutely. When we thought about online, digital retailing, technology, you think of Google, right? And so we had to have you on. We were so thrilled to hear you speaking on this topic at NADA. So just quick question. First of all, are you mourning the fact that we're not live at NADA? I just want to see if you're with us.
I absolutely am. Yes. I think it's wonderful that we can do these virtually, but I miss being on the floor and seeing everybody and having conversations. And I cannot wait to do it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another question. So, we were talking to Glenn Pash yesterday, who has spoken at several NADAs. This is like the Super Bowl of speaking, when you're in automotive. I think Steve Ressler, it was his first NADA ever speaking. So for you, how many NADAs have you spoken at?
So this is my second.
Okay.
I had the pleasure last year of debuting my presence at NADA on the live stage with Mr. Brian Benstock. And Brian, for those who don't know, is the VP of Paragon Honda and Paragon Acura. And we had the pleasure of talking about our dealer guidebook, which is our North Star and how dealers can use Google to help drive their business and their marketing strategies forward.
It's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Kind of
so
sad.
This year, I'm back talking about online
I'm just like, if we were in person, I could be watching this in person right now. But I'm sorry, I'll move on. Carrie knows it takes me a while, but I'll get past it eventually. I'll get past it eventually. And I will bring on what we all came here for, not to hear me talk about how much I miss Gumbo this year. So we're going to talk about your session at NADA, which was driving digital transformation through online retailing. And I'm thrilled that we're having the conversation here. So again, a sincere thank you for taking the time to spend with us. So let's just start. Let's start at the beginning. I think I've heard it said that consumers expect that all of their purchases now are going to have some sort of digital component. I've heard you say that. So first question is, I would like for you to talk just a little bit more about that. Explain what that means to us.
Yeah. So if we take a step back and we look at what shoppers are doing outside of their auto experience, they are really used to e-commerce. They're really used to online first activity. This has become second nature to many of us. And so automotive is becoming, no different. I do want to just talk for a minute about some of the data that we're seeing in this space because, we really anchor in the data and in what customer expectations are. So when we look at the industry, we see that 83% of car purchasers are spending 3 months doing research online, and they're ready to buy when they arrive at your door. And you've heard us talk about that for some time now in over the last few years. But what this means is that you really cannot win on the showroom floor anymore if you don't win online first. So if we take what we've seen in terms of customer expectation outside of automotive, bring that into the space, and then what has happened over the last year, we've seen that this pandemic has accelerated industries that were dipping their toes in e-commerce and online retailing, but were not fully ingrained in that. So before I talk about auto, I want to just look at another industry really quick, just to kind of level set us a little bit, Matt. Okay. So let's talk about the grocery industry. So I had never ever bought groceries online prior to the first year. And I was not alone in that. Gallup did a poll in August of 2019, and they said 81% of Americans had never ordered groceries online. When we look at that trend today, it's the exact opposite. Over 80% of Americans are buying their groceries online. So that's one illustration of how this has changed. Expectation that was there, but is now really accelerating. So then when we look at automotive, we see that these other industries are reaching a tipping point. And I don't think that we're there just yet for automotive, but it's going to come, and it's going to come really quickly. So when we look at the customer, we know that in March of 2020, 1 out of every 10 car buyers were purchasing that vehicle online. Now, that is compared to only 1% of car shoppers that were doing that in 2018. So in 2 years, we've seen, going from 1 in 10 shoppers to a 10% increase overnight. So what that means is that this change has already begun for the automotive space. And when we look at what customers want, we indicate that this is going to be a long-term shift.
And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, particularly with the pandemic and what was happening with the mindset, of car shoppers and just, people in general, doing things online. I think I've also heard you and others really talk about how consumers are engaging in the store, though. And I believe a lot of the sentiment is that the majority of car shoppers still need to spend time at the actual dealership. They're not necessarily doing everything online. So tell us what you think the new behavior will be in terms of how they actually physically engage with the dealership.
So I think we're at a really interesting moment here, Carrie, because online retailing is now available to shoppers, which it wasn't a year ago. So the industry is moving in this direction to offer it. We know through our research that customers are asking for it. And so we're finding this intersection of when is it available, how accessible is it, and what are the expectations of the shopper when they are moving through your experience online, moving through your experience in the dealership. What we still know today, because online shopping is not widely available, online retailing, I mean, that most customers are still spending over 2.5 hours on average in the dealership. Now, when we look at what does the customer want, most of them, 63% of them, are saying that they would consider online shopping for that vehicle either now or in the future. And 73% say that they're comfortable negotiating a purchase, a lease, financing terms, either completely online or a mixture of the two. So what this shows us is that as the industry keeps moving in this direction, they're just going to meet the customer need and the customer ask that's already there. So how that changes the in-dealership experience, I don't think we're going to go from 10% of online shopping today to 100% tomorrow. It's going to take time. But like I said, we've seen an acceleration. And when we look at what online retailing means for Google, what we're actually looking at is, can dealers deliver a customer-led, frictionless online shopping experience? And then within that allows for the hybrid of the two. So you're always you may always have shoppers that say, I want to go into the dealership. I want to test drive there. I want to, have my F&I experience there. I want you to see my trade-in in person. And then you may have a majority of people that are wanting to do both, as much online as they can. Maybe they still want to trade in at the dealership. But the goal is that no matter how they're choosing to experience your dealership, that it's consistent and it's frictionless, so that we're not losing that behavior from one touch point to another.
That makes perfect sense. And I really love what you called out, especially when you use the numbers of saying who said that they want to do what and where. 63% saying that they could negotiate online, but that still leaves a lot of people who want to go in person. And I think, some of the reluctance in the space about, digital retailing or modern retailing can be attributed to the fact that people are scared or concerned that everything was going to just happen online, right, and not personal. But your data says otherwise, that people still need to be, and they still want to be in person. They still want to do, parts of that of the deal online. That's what I heard, right? people still want to do
Yeah.
stuff online and they want to do stuff in person. So it's a combo of both experiences.
And I think even when you're delivering that entire online experience, so let's say you have a shopper that really doesn't want to walk into the dealership anymore. They want to engage with you online, end to end, and have that vehicle delivered to their doorstep. I think there's still a lot of opportunity to build that connection and that relationship that you would normally have built in the store. And so, thank goodness for the technology we have today. We have, dealerships have chat on their website. We have the ability to use video like we are today. You can have, video conference calls. You can do video walkarounds of a person's specific vehicle that they're interested in. So I don't think the online experience has to translate into not an impersonal experience. I think that you can do both.
Yeah, I think that's really important to call out because as Matt mentioned, Matt, sold cars for 12 years. And I think it better than all of us that there's that fear of kind of replacing the personal touch and that the online environment, is going to be a negative, right, for the dealer, when the reality is like it enhances the experience, right? And in many ways adds a lot of efficiency to the process. When consumers can do certain things online and then pick it up in the store if they choose to do so. Yeah. So let's shift gears for a little bit, because I know that you recently relaunched this dealer guidebook. I think I'm saying it right? That tells us, guides dealers on this whole digital strategy from Google's point of view. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what are some of the new themes for this year?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've had our guidebook out in the market since 2017. And the intention, as I mentioned earlier, is to really give best practices and a path on how dealers specifically can work with Google for their advertising. And over the course of time, we've needed to refresh that. This year in particular, with everything that happened between when we were at NADA last year and this week, we saw a need to really bring in the insights that we were seeing and talk about how these insights and this changing behavior that we're talking about right now can be set forth for the future. So that's really why we have relaunched the guidebook just very recently. I'll talk about it and then I will point everybody to where they can find this guidebook. But we wanted to do 4 things in particular. We wanted to talk to dealers about how they can catch up on the latest trends that are impacting the auto industry. So some of these we're talking about today. We want to then talk about how, as a dealer, do you maintain your momentum, and how do you align your ad spend strategy to the audiences that are most likely to convert into a vehicle sale or into parts and service on the fixed op side. And then we want to talk about growing your business through delivering the right message to the right shopper, so that targeting can be really on point for what you need for your dealership. And then the last area that we talk about is today's conversation, which is how do you prepare for the future? How do you lean into online retailing? How do you lean into the power of automation and technology to build in efficiencies and profitability for your dealership through these advertising formats? So as you can see, even as I just talked through those, a lot of those they were accelerating beforehand, but they have a renewed focus because of everything we've seen over the course of the last year.
That makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because, yeah, again, this is not the same as it was just a year ago. When was the guidebook initially launched? Was it 2017?
It initially launched in 2017. Yes. And so, okay. So many things have changed since then. But then there's still areas, that we call them the truths. And the truths are, customers are researching online. They have been for some time. So that still remains a fundamental truth there. Another truth is that mobile is really important, as an aspect of the shopping journey. Mm-hmm. So for those that are familiar with the guidebook, you may see some of these core areas. We're continuing to just build on them over time with the latest customer trends and shopping trends that we're seeing.
And then, just calling out, if you could give us some highlights maybe on a couple things that have changed that are top of mind for you in terms of the guidebook this year.
Yeah, so there's 2 areas that I'm really, really excited about. And one is actually, I touched on mobile. So we've all been talking about mobile for some time, but I think in the world of online retailing, it becomes only more important. So we know that the majority of auto shoppers are using their mobile device to research. And I think one of the exciting things and clear things that you could do today is to look at your mobile site experience, and really assess, can a shopper go through as much of the process online on a mobile device as possible? Where do they get stuck? Where is it slower? And then even something is looking at your mobile site speed and really assessing, does my site load in 3 seconds or less? Because if it takes longer, we know through our research that you risk losing that shopper before they have ever continued their shopping journey with your site. So that's one thing that is that we are talking about again. Not necessarily brand new, Carrie, but new in this environment that we're in, where it's increasingly important. And then the other one is measurement. It's really important to look at your measurement on your website right now and understand what actions shoppers are taking and what actions are leading to buying a vehicle, whether that's fully online end-to-end, or that is a proxy to them walking into your dealership, a proxy to sale. So these can be things like assessing, are they filling out lead forms on the site? Are they viewing VDP pages, phone calls, maps and directions? All of those we know are important indicators of in-market shopper intention.
Yeah, your guidebook, reminds me of just the fact that you're updating it every year. And you probably could update even more than that if you wanted to, because things are changing so fast. But it reminds me that as an industry and as dealers, we really need to be looking at our digital strategy and refreshing it every year, right? Things are changing. And I'm guessing that's why you take the approach of kind of refreshing this guidebook, because things change.
That's exactly right. And the way we've set it up is that it can meet you where you are today. So if all of these elements are new to your dealership, that's okay. And we show you where to start. If you're really, moving more into automation and really ready for online retailing or already doing it, the guidebook can meet you there too. So we really try to find a point where we're taking these areas that are really important to what dealers care about in terms of marketing, and then guiding the way as they move through the path and they progress in in measurement, et cetera.
Yeah. So, I mean, coming from the perspective of a Google that has just, incredible amounts of data about shopper behavior, I know that dealerships really respect and utilize such tools because everybody's looking for, even the people who tune into this show, they're looking for little knowledge nuggets that they can get that are very accessible, that can help them move forward. And I'm really excited, sincerely, to hear that Google is taking such an active step in providing the guidebook and keeping it updated to reflect what's new and what's current in the market. And so I'm going to ask you something, Lizette, if I can, because it's something I like to always ask people when they're on the show. Now, Carrie reminded me of this earlier on in the show when we launched back in April. I was asking people questions that like, what would they recommend a dealer do to just get a little bit better right now, right? And we always like to ask people, because we want to give people who are watching the show a takeaway. What can I do as a dealer based on this information to just get a little bit better? But Carrie reminded me that sometimes the answers we were getting really only applied to dealerships that had big budgets, that had huge resources and lots of staff and stuff like that, right? So I think this would be a great opportunity to say, what if I'm a little guy, Lissette? What can I do? What would you tell me to do that I could do in the next several days or several weeks to really embrace this new marketplace?
I think that's a really great question. The first one I'll point back to and talk about mobile again, because I think it's that important. And I think no matter the size of your dealership or whether you're working, with an agency or not, that experience, you have a mobile website. You don't have to have an app. If you have a website, you have a mobile website. And to just take a look at that and assess, is it loading properly? Is it loading in 3 seconds or less? Is it easy for people to find the inventory that they're looking for? Is it easy for them to find your phone number, fill out a lead form, find your dealership location? Those are all, we know, high intent actions. And so it really just take a fresh look at that site as you would if you were a shopper coming into your dealership. So I think that's the first thing. I think measurement is so important, no matter what size dealership you are or where you are in terms of your marketing strategy, to know what all of your media is doing for your business, because it really can help drive profitability for your business. And so, we have solutions like Google Analytics free. It doesn't cost anything, so you can put that on your site and really start to understand all of your media and what that's doing to drive your business. So I think those are two, like, if you could leave here today, those would be the areas that I would say start with.
The measurement piece, both are so important, but the measurement piece, I think is so critical, because, we've seen it, and I don't have the stats from this year, but if you look at like NADA and the amount of money that dealers are spending per new vehicle sold, it's stayed flat for the last 10 years. It hasn't gone down. And, we're spending a lot of money still on advertising and not necessarily knowing whether it works or not. And so, I've been in Google Analytics, like it's such an important tool to really dissect what's happening. Right. And it's worth that time. So that's such good advice, even for the smaller players.
Yeah.
I did have a question for you on mobile, in terms of it becoming even more important than ever. Do you think that it's a matter of, the time that we're in with the pandemic and all of that makes it more important? Or is it a matter of just consumer adoption, right? That the fact that my dad now does things on social and with his mobile device that shock me, right? Like, do you think it's a shift in the consumer, or is it the time we're in, or both?
I think it's a great question. I don't know the answer, but I mean, we saw this, we had talked about micro moments, several years ago where, so many people have mobile devices and are now, obviously they're using them for different things than they were before, but it really, you can leave your wallet at home. You cannot leave your mobile device at home. And so that's like really, I mean, when you think about how attached we all are to those devices. So, and I think the environment we're in right now where, mobility has decreased, people are not out and about, it's our way of socializing, just makes that reliance on it even stronger. So it may be a combination of both, Carrie. I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, just talking about the importance of it, because it's true. I think everybody watching has had that moment where they walked out of their house and they might forget their mask. They ain't forgetting their phone. And if they forget their phone, forget it. That's panic right there. And so the mobile is such an important part of our life. And Lizette, you said something in the first tip, which was, look at your mobile site and the experience that a consumer would have. And I'm only speaking anecdotally. I'm not speaking for other dealers that I'm friends with. I'm just talking for myself. In my experience, that didn't happen. The dealer's measurements was not based on what was coming. Like we did not necessarily interact with our own sites on a regular basis. If you ask somebody within the store, what's the fastest pathway to our online credit app, they may not be able to tell you, because it was very reactionary. My site gives me this information and that's what I'm looking for. I'm not really jumping into the site after things have been set up to really see what the process is going like. So for you to call out talking about go into the mobile experience, it sounds like it should be 101, but I don't think that it is. I think that that's a very important call out to put yourself in the shopper's position, especially when you call out load time, because everybody has a different opinion about what's a tolerable load time. So if the person at the store says, I'll just wait until I get it, that may not reflect the behavior of their consumer. So I really, really appreciate both of those things because they're actionable, they're quick, we can do them both right now. So thank you. This dealer guidebook, how much does it cost?
It's free. It is a free Google resource. It's available to you today. So if you go on thinkwithgoogle.com and you search Google Dealer Guidebook or just Dealer Guidebook, you will find it on our website. You can download it today. It costs nothing, and it's a wealth of information to help get started in any of the areas that we talked about today. Our gift.
No, that's awesome. I think it's important, for dealers, but I know a lot of vendors like us will reference it as well, right? We work with 14,000 dealers. We want to make sure that we're helping them, not just with TrueCar, but just with digital in general. So I think it's a real gift that you provide to the whole industry.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, I think that, we're coming up on time, and I know that based on the interactions that we've had, and we mentioned that we were going to have you on the show, people have just been so excited, and that makes me think that there's people in the world who might want to be able to tap you on the shoulder, at least virtually, to get your knowledge nuggets. So how would somebody learn from you or find out some of the other things that you've spoken about or some of the other information that you have? Where would we direct them?
Well, I have a LinkedIn page, so they can reach out to me at LinkedIn. If you are a dealer that's working with an agency, you can call your agency, your partners. If you're working with Google, call us. We're here. We're happy to help. That's what we're here for. And I'm on Clubhouse now, so if you ever drop into an automotive Clubhouse room, you can find me there. So
we're laughing because we've had a lot of conversations about Clubhouse, and we're both on it too, but we're a little bit of late bloomers and coming along and being a part of the conversations.
It's a really interesting platform.
It is.
Yeah.
Super great resource. And again, Lizette, as you get to know me better, you'll know that I'm cheap and I love what Clubhouse costs.
That's right.
So perfect, accessible. I'm super thrilled, as are everybody else who set up time to watch the show. I know that people are watching it live, and we expect there's going to be people who are watching it on demand. So for them and for myself and for Carrie, if you don't mind, I would like to thank all of them for the time that you've dedicated to us today, especially making yourself available, making sure that people are understanding what the market is now. And most importantly, giving them that resource of the Dealer Guidebook 2.5, because I think that's going to be integral to creating a strategy because today isn't like it was a year ago. This isn't the same thing.
Well, listen, I'm so happy to be here with you both. And I wanted to say congratulations on what TrueCar Military is doing. That's really amazing work. And what you're doing this week with NADA. So congratulations to you both on that.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see you in person next year.
Yes, I can't wait.
All right. See you later.
See you. Bye.
Thank you. All right.
Oh my God, wasn't that great?
It was. I think Google's obviously at the forefront of kind of understanding what's happening with the consumer, with the digital consumer, and it's so important that they're sharing not only that insight, but the best practices from a dealer standpoint, where they can reach the consumer, right, with the right messages in the right places. So it was really interesting.
I love it because I say it with love. Is like when I mentioned everything is reactionary. Being in a dealership is a reactionary existence. It's a very short it's the 1st through the 31st, quarter to quarter, end of year. So you're always on your feet. You don't necessarily have the time to study macro trends on your own. So to find somebody like a Google or a Lissette with Google who was taking the time to do that, I think it's really, really impressive. And I'm happy that she came on the show so we can spread that information, because I'm not sure that everybody knows that these free resources are there. So I'm just in love with it. So Carrie, what was your primary takeaway from today's show?
Let's see. Well, I mean, I think I'm gonna stick with her second point about measurement. That's been always a hot button for me too, and something we've obviously focused on at TrueCar, right? There's a reason why we have a cost per sale model in most ways, where we only charge dealers when a lead closes, right? And so I think that one is probably what I have a lot of passion for, in terms of tracking, measuring, making sure what you're spending from a marketing standpoint is actually working. Yeah,
I think measurement is something that we all can agree on. How do you grow if you don't measure, right? How do you know where your pitfalls are if you don't measure? My primary takeaway was that she solidified, via data, that even people who want to be online, they still may want to be in person. And so for those of us who are feeling like, well, I don't want to be excluded from this process. I bring benefit to the consumer, or I can help the consumer, or, this is a person-to-person thing. I think hearing people like Lizette say that actually will put some, put some people at ease and say, hey, we need to do this part of our jobs a lot better, but it doesn't mean it's going to be at the expense of actually being able to, I almost said shake somebody's hand, but that doesn't happen anymore, right? Meet somebody in person, although the kid in play, or however you get right. So I really, really love this. This has just been a fantastic episode. Thank you, everybody on the show who has been here, who is going to watch it later. And Carrie, is there anything that you'd like to sign off to our viewers with?
Well, we just got to remember or remind everybody, tomorrow is the 21K challenge reveal. We're going to announce the winners of the 4 dealers once again, who we will select to win $2,500 towards their charity of choice. And we're also going to meet Corey Remsburg, our spokesperson for our Driven to Drive program, and of course, David from DAV. So it's going to be an exciting show. Matt, what time is that again?
11 o'clock California time. And for the folks on the call, if you are unable to watch live, that's cool. It's going to be recorded. Check it out on Facebook later.
Sounds good. Well, thank you
guys,
for having me. I'm retiring once again until the next NADA. I'll be back, but I'll definitely be watching tomorrow.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Carrie, and everybody watching. We will see you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.